On our YouTube channel, and those watching New Wave Cable TV Channel 15 in the communities of Fairfield, Wayne City, McLeansboro, Albin, Mount Carmel, Carmine, North City, Newton, Aldney, and Sumner. We welcome those aboard watching on our TV channels and your YouTube channel this morning, as we have a couple of guests in studio with us this morning. Jenny, let's welcome Becky Crider, a nurse with Best Beginnings Nurse Family Partnership, and Megan Doolen, a doula with the organization. Ladies, good morning, and thanks for coming in and joining us this morning here on the Vine Morning Show.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having us.
Well, you guys are quite welcome. Becky, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit. First off, how did you become involved with Nurse Family Partnership? It's been around for quite some time, right?
Yes, since 2001. Originally, it was started, it's always been through the United Methodist Children's Home in Mount Vernon, and we have our own little satellite office away from there, but that's our home agency, and they've been wonderfully supportive of the whole thing. It was originally started by two people I had worked with at the hospital for several years before, and when they started it, they called and invited me, and I was thrilled to do it. It's an amazing program.
Mm-hmm. And it actually goes back to many years ago when it first started nationwide back in 1977. It all began in New York, is that right?
Yes, Elmira, New York. Dr. David Oles was the founder.
And then it just picked up and it's grown nationwide, right?
Absolutely. It's an evidence-based program, and it's been a strong program all along, growing all along, and it's just been really an amazing ride.
Yeah, and you know, when a young woman becomes pregnant before she's ready to take care of a child, the risk factors for the entire family escalate, and many things happen. And this is when you guys step in to help them get through the process, right?
Absolutely. We try to troubleshoot anything that we see maybe coming up a little bit, encourage them to call the doctor when maybe they don't realize that they need to. There are several conditions that can come with really young pregnancies, and so we just try to keep an eye on all those things and keep the doctors informed, and along with the girls, and explain everything that maybe sometimes doctors get so busy they don't have time for a really good explanation, so we work with them on that.
And the program affects, for many things. It helps to improve prenatal health. There's just so many things that go around when young mothers have children that you guys step in and help. And not only help them in upbringing of the child, but you also educate them in many other ways as far as what to expect in life when they're raising their children, right?
Absolutely. We even have program packets and what to expect after you have your baby. And I know when I had my first child, no one told me the things that I would go through. And you're agreeing?
I agree, yeah.
And so we try to explain all of that before it ever happens. And so the more informed you are, and the more that you know that things are normal, that you never thought would happen to you, the better, I think, more confident you'll be when it does happen.
Do you think that the girls listen to you guys? I don't want to say they're not listening to their physician, but that it's easier for them to talk to you and to listen to your advice because it's not coming from a professional person who a lot of times a young mother feels that they're looked down upon.
Right. No, you've got to meet people where they are. And the relationship, this is all relationship based, and I am a very relationship oriented person. I am protective of my girls. I love my girls. And so we get to be involved. It's really a privilege in every aspect of their lives. So if it's finances, support, mental health, anything, plus the bonding and attachment with the baby, parenting, we cover all of that. So.
Wow. And the benefits, this is a great program for first-time mothers to get involved in. Is it for low-income mothers? What's the requirements to become involved with the program?
If you meet the income guidelines for WIC, then you are eligible for us. And it's completely free. And we do video diaries the whole time throughout. Well, usually we ask them to do one right before they have the baby. So when the baby's older, they can see what their mom looked like when she was carrying them. And then different activities and different developmental milestones, we video all of that. And then when the disc is full, we just give it to the mom, and then she has a video diary of her baby. So.
Now, I'm looking at a brochure here, Becky, that shows the program effects at child age 15 in the first trial. This was based back in 1977. Benefits to mothers: 61% fewer arrests, 72% fewer convictions, 98% fewer days in jail. And you help out mothers that has been in trouble before, correct?
Absolutely.
Has those numbers changed since then, or is that up to current?
That's pretty current. For every government dollar spent on nurse-family partnership, they get $1.54 back because they use food stamps less. More of them
Right.
become employed because we really encourage that. We teach them if they need nursing, we nurse. If they need to learn how to make a resume, then we do that. I wrote a letter of recommendation for a girl yesterday for a scholarship at Rend Lake. So it just really depends on what they need from us, and if we can do it. We also have a baby buck store where when they keep visits and keep their babies' immunizations up and doctor's appointments and things, they earn baby bucks from us. And we literally have a store where they look through a book and shop with those bucks, and it can be household items, baby items, pots and pans, anything that they need, then it's there.
And you're also a service of United Methodist Children's Home in Mount Vernon, right? You work
Yes.
with them as well?
Yes, and they have other programs too. We've referred parents to Youth Build so they can get their GED and learn a trade. And now they're doing CNA and forklift operating along with the other things that they offer. We have to stop whenever the child turns 2, and sometimes that's a difficult time. And everybody knows about the terrible twos, but the Children's Home has family foundations, and they'll pick up for 6 months. And so they work, that's actually therapists that work and keep the parenting support going.
You know, with mothers out there, and there are some young mothers out there, sometimes it's very stressful because they're first-time mothers, Jenny, and they don't know what to expect, and they're lost in a world that, you know, they need support in this time and in these situations, and it's good to have this type of program available for the young girls out there.
I was very blessed because I'm close with my mom, and my mom lives close to us, about 10 minutes apart. And so I could talk to my mom about those things. But it's amazing how many things change from the time that your parents had you to what is recommended now. And so there would be things, and my mom would say this or that. I'm like, that's exactly the opposite they told me to do. You know, like, I don't know what to do. I trust you, but I don't know. And so it's so nice to have that second reinforcement to come in. Whether you still have that family member or not, it's just nice to have another person that can guide and direct you, because there's so many, your first child, there's so many things that come along that you never expected to come up.
Right.
And it comes up, and you have to deal with it. You can't just be like, well, I'll ask that next time. It's like, no, I got to find out now. Is this normal? You know? And so there's just so many things. And not just for the baby, but for you too.
Yeah.
There's so much going on for you when you've had a child that it's a fascinating thing
Overwhelming.
that that we can all survive this with any sanity at all because it's physically taxing on your body. It's mentally, it's emotional, everything. And so, to be able to have somebody that can come in and help you with all those avenues at one place, that's a huge resource
In your own home.
Yeah.
And Becky, you being a nurse, and you've seen so many things go on in some of these girls' lives. Not only are you looking at it from a professional standpoint, being the nurse and helping them grow with the baby, but you're also like their mom. You become good and close with these ladies too, right?
Absolutely. I love my girls. I really do. And sometimes, you might have somebody their problems almost overwhelm you, and so we do weekly supervisions and discuss all that. We have staffings where we get advice from each other, and the Children's Home is extremely supportive of letting us know that they appreciate us. And so with all of the support we get, then we're less likely to feel overwhelmed, and we can still help them.
Mm-hmm. What's one thing that you can, and I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but you've been doing this for how many years again?
4.
4 years. And in those 4 years, what, at this point in your career working with this program, what's the most exciting story for you that sticks out in your mind as far as one that really just has really touched your heart?
Well, we work with dads too, and we really try to implement the dads into the program also, because it's extremely important.
Yes.
Men hold their babies differently than women, and they play with them differently, and the kids need that as much as they need it from their mom. And so I had a girl who was wanting to nurse her baby, and it meant a lot to her to be able to do that. And she had a very complicated delivery and ended up at an emergency C-section that took hours, and it was just one of those scenarios where nothing went right. And so the entire night she was pretty much slept. And her husband knew how much it meant to her for the baby to feed. And so 4 times that night when the baby woke, he took the baby and took it to her, the mother, and he was in charge of all those feedings throughout the
Wow.
night. And I've got goosebumps now. That's
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, and it helps him grow as becoming a father too, because
Absolutely.
he probably didn't have any idea. You know, most men don't have
Yeah.
an idea of what the ladies go through when, you know, they have to feed the baby and all that. And it's, you know, especially in times like this is where you guys come in. You can step in and kind of guide the male part of the father being a father along the way.
Right. They actually polled men a couple of years ago. There was a huge poll done, and they asked them what their first-time dads, what their number one fear was, and it was that they would drop the baby. And every time I tell an expectant mother that, she'll smile because it never crosses her mind, because she's been carrying that baby the whole time. And so it's a legitimate stressor for the dads, especially a really young dad who's never really been around a baby. And so we work with them right along with the moms. So.
Wow. You know, and Jenny, nursing is such, and the nursing field is such a demand for nurses out there. And,
Yeah.
and Becky, if there is a nurse out there that maybe wants to take a career change, and what do they have to do to become a nurse in such a wonderful program like this?
There's a lot of training. There's about 300 hours of training the first year. The training never stops. When you work with people, there's always a surprise somewhere.
Yeah.
And so you have to constantly evolve and constantly learn about how to deal with those different scenarios. And so it has to be someone willing to keep their training up at a very high level.
Is it an LPN, RN? What's required?
It's an RN
It's an
program.
program.
Bachelor's is required. And then we are also certified lactation consultants, and that's a week-long training with a huge test at the end. We are there's a didactic interaction training that we have called dance that we do, and there's risk assessment training called STARS, and I mean it's just everything takes several days to do. Or there's in-cast training where you watch interactions and feeding and teaching, and just different. It's just constantly ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you had mothers that have come back, they've went through your program, and then they maybe later have had a child and they didn't come through the program? The difference between the two, or do they ever, you know, like, I would have never been able to do this the second time had I not had what I had the first time?
Exactly, yes. As a matter of fact, I talked to a girl this morning that we stay in touch that is living in Michigan now, and so she's pregnant with her second baby, and so she has
Wow.
questions and things. She still gets a hold of me. Girls that have graduated the program when their babies are 2, we still have a lunch once in a while or talk on the phone, or I'll stop by and visit, and you really become attached. These are true friendships, so...
Yeah, and I can see, you know, as you start from a young age and then they grow, and then you're curious as their nurse, you know, how's the child progressing,
Yeah.
especially if they move
Yes.
away.
Yeah.
Do you get a chance to meet the babies after they've grown up so much, and do they bring them to you? And
Well, several of my
Several?
girls still do, yes. Most of them have stayed local. I have one moving to Texas at the end of the month, so I have one visit left with her, and she has little girl twins, and so I'm going to miss
Wow.
them.
yeah,
But I actually have 2 sets of twins. I have a set of boys and a set of girls, and so it's pretty exciting watching how closely they hit their milestones together. You know, one might be a little more physical, but
Right.
then the other one catches right up within a week. It's just
Sure.
really great.
yeah. And in a way, with social media is now, you'll be able to stay on, you know,
Yes.
up to date how they progress in their life, and pictures, and see them grow up, and that means a lot.
Yeah.
right
Yes,
there.
it does. Yes,
Yeah.
and we're allowed to witness to our girls. That's encouraged. And so talking to them about church, talking to them about prayer. And I had a girl that had cancer surgery yesterday, and I let her know right away, we're praying for you.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday we have a mandatory meeting, and we have a prayer list, and we go over it, and we have prayer. So it's another source of support.
Do you
for
get
us.
a very much response from the girls when they know that you're praying for them? And what is the overall take?
Most of the time, it's very well appreciated. Sometimes they just look at me and smile, and go on, and probably like it is anywhere else, and so.
Yeah, but those smiles later on down the road when that child becomes older, the mom's going to think, you know what, she prayed for me and she prayed for my child, and look where I'm at today, and thankful for you and the program out there that's available for them.
Right.
And it's a God-given program that's available for these young mothers out there.
Yes, and Woodlawn Christian Church used to have a crochet group that would get together knitting and crocheting, and every one of my babies used to get a blanket and a hat that matched whenever they had their babies that was prayed over, and it was really touching.
Wow, that's awesome. We're talking with Becky Crider, the nurse with Best Beginnings Nurse Family Partnership. And ladies, when we come back, Megan, we're going to go into the 9 o'clock hour here in a moment, but when we come back after 9 o'clock, we're going to talk with you about doulas.
Yes.
All right, when we come back with Megan as we continue here on the Vine Morning Show here on this Wednesday morning. More to come. We're heading into 9 o'clock, and the interview will continue. The Neverclaim has a great song out, and it's called The Joy. And the Neverclaim is next with their song, The Joy, on the Vine.
The only thing better than
Welcome back. It's the Vine Morning Show on a Wednesday morning. I'm Mark along with Jenny. Hello, Jenny.
Good morning.
As we have a pleasure that we have two ladies with us this morning here in the studios with us as part of the United Methodist Children's Home in Mount Vernon. It's the Best Beginnings Nurse Family Partnership Program. Nurse Becky Crider. And good morning, Becky, and welcome in this morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
And one thing I didn't ask you last year, I wanted to ask you, you practice in Jefferson County, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And there's another nurse named Brooke in Jefferson
Brooke
County?
Riley and a doula named Kendra.
Doula named Kendra, and you
Smith.
guys focus on Jefferson County, correct?
Yes.
All right. And you were telling us about what a great program this is and sharing some stories with us about the nurse aspect of it. And right now we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit and talk with Megan Doolen, who is a doula with the program. And Megan, good morning and welcome in.
Good morning.
Tell us a little bit about how you became a doula and how long you've been practicing this position.
I started with the program right after Becky did, so I've been here almost 4 years. I was actually a participant in the program when my son was born. So my son will be 7 next month. Jamie, who is still a nurse with our program in Marion County, she was my nurse home visitor when I was in the program, and she just taught me a wealth of information about parenting, about childbirth, labor and delivery. Like Jenny said earlier, I was close to my mom, and I have a big family. I've been around children my whole life, but there's some things that change over time. I mean, my mom hadn't had kids for 20 years, so it was a lot of things had changed. Things were new. Information was new. A lot of it was completely opposite to what they used to tell them, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. So having Jamie come into my home each time was like there was something new brought. I thought everybody had babies at 40 weeks. And so when she asked me, ask your mom how long it took for her to go into labor and have her kids, when my mom told me it was an hour, Jamie was like, oh, you need to get your bags packed. So I packed my bags, and luckily I had my son 2 days later in 4 hours.
Wow.
So if it wouldn't have been for Jamie, I might not have had all my stuff together.
Sure. Now, a doula, a lot of people might not know, being a male, I wasn't aware of a doula, until I looked at the definition. And a doula is Greek. Tell us what it means, what a doula is.
It's just a woman who assists with childbirth, who helps their friends and family. It wasn't necessarily a trained professional. It was just somebody that was there to attend to you and your emotional and physical needs during labor and delivery without, distraction. Because sometimes your family gets caught up in the moment.
Right.
They don't exactly know what's going on. Right. So that's where I come in. And Kendra, the doula for Jefferson County, we come in and we kind of step in and help bridge that gap in between our participants and the nursing staff or our participants' family. It's really a multi-generational thing because we're teaching the mom, we're teaching the grandma, maybe even the great-grandma sometimes about the labor and delivery process and what's going on. So it's not such a scary thing.
I was reading the brochure here, and it says, what are the benefits of having a doula? And there's many benefits, right? And care to share with us what the benefits are?
Usually breastfeeding rates are higher. We have one of the highest breastfeeding rates for nurse-family partnership in the state. That's always a big thing that we're congratulated on. And it lowers the number of C-sections usually. Labors are usually shorter.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of good things like that. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a shorter labor?
Every woman.
Yeah. And, you know, knowing the ladies, and it's something else you guys do, what the benefit of having a doula is, less maternal depression.
Yes.
And you don't realize how much depression could sit in on a lady giving birth.
Yes. Postpartum depression is a very big thing. It's not talked about very widespread for some reason. And we do postpartum depression screenings with participants just to make sure that they're feeling okay. If a participant has a nurse and myself, I will go in twice after the delivery, and the nurse will stay with them, obviously, until the child's 2, and they will do visits every week for the first 6 weeks. That's really because that's the highest risk time for, maternal depression. We talk to girls about, if you just don't feel like yourself, if something just doesn't feel quite right, talk to us, talk to someone. Sure. And we do those screenings and then forward them on to the doctors if need be.
Yeah. And here's something else that's very interesting too, Jenny. And again, it goes along with what you were talking about too earlier, Becky. You strengthen and reinforce fathers' involvement in babies' care.
Yes.
It's very important because a lot of men out there, a lot of the fathers out there, they're lost. They don't know what to do. They think, oh, it's the mom's responsibility. I'll just learn and watch her. But that's where you guys can come in and you can teach them along the way.
Yes, I always tell my participants, I'm not here to take the place of your family members. If there's something that I can have the father of the baby do, I'm going to encourage it. I'm going to ask him to step up. Go ahead, rub her back. Push here and try to do some counter pressure and maybe help that back labor out. Have her mom come over and help her, wipe her face off with a cool rag and try to help cool her down during labor and delivery.
Yeah,
it's so important too that the dad gets involved right then,
right away.
Even if he hasn't been involved through the pregnancy, because some dads feel like that they're not really needed during that time. Like they don't know what, because it's all going on in you as the female, and so they don't know how to help you. But I really think that having somebody there that can help pull dad in right at those last moments where mom needs the help the most, and that he can see that he's being effective and supportive to her, that means so much, and that carries over into their relationship after.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That it took both of them.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important because that will show up later that child will benefit from.
Yes, absolutely. Across the board benefits when dad's involved with the baby. And we have fetal models because men tend to think more concretely than women sometimes. And so when you can actually hold a little 12-week or 20-week fetus in your hand and see what size your baby really is, really makes it real. And so you can see most of the time it really touches them to be able to just see that.
One of the statistics here on the paperwork that I've got here, and it says more than 10,000 babies have been born through the Ounce Doula program since its inception in 1996, and that's awesome. And I'm sure probably that has probably gone up since then, right? Wouldn't you agree, Megan? Wow.
I've been in probably between 60 and 70 deliveries in 4 years.
Oh, my goodness.
So we try to average 2 deliveries a month. Sometimes we fit in 3, sometimes only 1, when our numbers are down.
Yeah, and, a lot of these ladies, and it's like you, Becky, you get to know these girls, and it's like they look at you as their bigger sister.
Yeah.
Because you're their support group at that point in time, that maybe they don't have somebody.
Well, we are available to our girls, at all hours. A lot of times we try to encourage our girls, those safe relationship boundaries. We talk to them about that, but also let them know that we're here for them if they have questions at the hours that the doctor's office is not open. And if I have questions, I can refer to Becky or one of our other nurses. We also have a clinical support person who's a nurse practitioner for one of the area OB offices, and she helps us out with a lot of our questions that have to do with like labor and delivery, something that happened and I have questions on, I can contact her at any time and kind of relay that information back to my participants, because a lot of it is like it's questions that are left unanswered. The doctors don't always have time, unfortunately. They're pressed. I mean, they just have to see a certain amount of people in a certain amount of time. So we're there for those participants to, ask questions. And I have a lot of friends who've had children. They're like, oh my gosh, is this normal? And so it fosters a relationship that, can't be duplicated anywhere else.
No.
Yeah.
And each delivery is unique.
Yes.
Like you have it's not this textbook. There's like this blueprint of how it can go, but for each person it's different.
For each delivery, it's different. And I tell my girls that up front. I tell my participants, just because this delivery ended up this way and you're not exactly that happy about it, doesn't mean that your next one
Right.
has to turn out this
Right.
way.
Right.
They're all very, very different.
And I wanted to mention, too, that Jamie Richardson is a nurse in Marion County, and Holly Kelly. And Holly has 25 years experience as an OB nurse.
Wow.
And so, we always have that resource, too, with someone
Sure.
who's very trained in it, and we can ask questions.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm going to put you on the spot now, Megan. I did Becky, but since you've been a doula, what's probably one of the most things that's memorable to you, that really touches you, a story or something you could share?
There's so many
So many?
of them.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I think most recently, I actually had a participant who she set her heart on not having any pain medication during labor, or especially an epidural. And that's a big commitment. It's a big deal. And a lot of our girls strive for it. Sometimes unfortunate circumstances happen and they can't meet that goal because either they end up having to have a C-section, unfortunately, and things like that really kind of break their heart. And you
Right.
can see it all over their face. And I wish that I could just, hold them and kind of try to comfort them in that time. And we really do. I work on that with my girls, just letting them know that doesn't mean defeat. That's not the end of the road for you. This baby and you are still healthy, and that's what's most important. But most recently, I had a girl, and she was 17 years old, and she made it through labor and delivery with one shot of IV pain medication.
Wow.
And that only lasts about 15 to 20 minutes, and she did amazing.
Wow.
And she's still breastfeeding, and her and the baby are doing very well. So things like that, when I know that somebody can set their mind to it and that they can make a difference in their own life, and she can, you can see that they're proud of themselves. And even though sometimes things don't go the way they want, if they're proud of themselves at the end of the day, I have to tell them, that's what's most important. Just know that you rocked the delivery and you did it.
Yeah. And I'm sure, Megan, along with nursing, doulas are in high demand probably. And what's it required to become a doula?
Well, our program actually trains us, and we have a very extensive training. Like Becky said, we're trained. I mean, we're one of the most highly trained programs in UMCH. I think that's what Sarah tells
You ought
us
to
all
hear
the
us
time.
groan when we hear about a new one.
So, in the beginning, you're required to go to a 3-day training by DONA, which is the International Doula Association, basically. And then we have 4 months of ongoing training. It's different trainings throughout our program that are required by the ounce of prevention. And then we have 80 hours of direct contact, clinical observations. I also have my CLC, as well as Becky, which is a week-long class. I recently got my child safety passenger certification, so CPS, so I'm certified car seat technician now, so to speak. But that was just kind of like something to do on the side to kind of help our participants out, something more that we can offer to them that there's not a lot of around here.
Yeah, because a lot of times once they get out and they're able to transport the baby, their mindset is not how do I fasten in the baby, and maybe they're not doing it right. This is where you can step in and show them.
Yes, and I think everybody that went to the class, we had a class of about 12 people, and a lot of us had younger children, and I think every single one of us were doing something wrong with our car seats. You would not believe the amount of stuff that just something little, could cost your child, an injury.
Wow.
Even just not locking the seatbelt.
Yeah.
You don't think about it. You pull it tight and you go. And
Yeah, wow.
Yep.
Well, ladies, if there's a young mother out there that needs this program provided through United Methodist Children's Home, and they're listening this morning, or will listen when we archive this interview, how can they get a hold of you guys?
go to your local health department. They have releases and referral forms there. If you're not applying for WIC for whatever reason, you can do a self-referral. You can talk to your doctor. The doctor's offices have them. But most of our clients all come from the health department in
Yeah.
both counties.
And a lot of people, is there an age requirement? What do you
None.
look at as far as age goes?
I have a girl as young as 15 and one is 44. So
Wow.
So where do you primarily get your funding for your program?
It's the Ounce of Prevention Birth to 3 Institute in Chicago.
And that's the funding you get to operate each and every year
Yes.
from this program. Wow. And more information can be obtained through, I'm sure you can, they can go to, is there a website that people can go to check out as well?
umchome.org. That's the Children's Home's website, and all of their programs will be on there, even if it's not this one that you're interested in, Youth Build or any of the other programs that they offer.
You know, I like what it says here. It says doula service, a calming presence, a gentle touch, encouraging words, the beginning of a new life for everyone.
Yes.
And that's the motto, you could say, for the doula service. And what an awesome program this is, Jenny.
Megan, do you feel that since you went through the program, that you're able to impart more things to your girls because you can identify with them?
I think they listen more when you can identify with them, when you can tie in things. And it doesn't have to be anything major. I mean, a lot of our girls have challenges that I would never, face in my personal life, but I can get down on their level. There's a lot of empathy involved, and I think if you can empathize with them, I think they will listen to you better. And it's changed. I mean, personally, it's changed my life a lot. I went from having a delivery with an epidural and not really caring for that very much to, a water birth, no pain medication, midwife. But I always tell girls, I'm like, midwife or doulas are not all about, no pain medication. It's doing what you want to feel proud of yourself and make it through labor and delivery.
Mm-hmm. It's really customizing what you want before you go into that situation.
Yes.
And knowing that, you got to know before you get there.
Yeah,
or you need to know before you get there, because everything can happen so rapidly that you don't have time to stop and think about it, or it can be so drawn out that you just want to get it over with and not really embrace the moment.
Yeah, and we do birth plans with all of our participants. Even if they don't have a doula, the nurses do them with that with them. So it's kind of giving them, those questions that they need to be asking themselves to prepare themselves for that childbirth experience.
Well, I'm sure that it's a very positive experience to see someone who went through this situation, and then, because I'm sure when you come in, first of all, they're thinking, okay, this is a young lady who's a professional, but then to see, oh my goodness, like, it has to bring them hope to know she made it, and then she's went on and done something to pay it forward.
Yeah.
And so, for some of them who probably feel like they don't have the support at home, or this is the end of my life right here, this is changing everything about me, it's positive for them to see it doesn't have to. Like, I can take this situation and I can make it the best experience of my life.
I think all of our employees in our program, including Becky, have had something in their life. Like, Becky was a young mom.
I was 17.
A lot of our employees were young moms, and we all can empathize with our girls and say, we've been there. We've had things that happened that were completely unplanned during our deliveries. We've been through a lot of loss and grief. We've had things happen that we can relate to girls. Some people are better in other areas than others, and we can kind of, like, if I don't know something, I can talk to Becky or one of our other nurses or the other doula and kind of get a pretty good idea of what I can say to my participant to make them feel, like everything's going to be all right.
I like what you said, that you can say, we've been there. Because it's one thing to tell somebody, oh, yeah, I've heard about that. But when you can say, no, I know what you're going through. I understand because I was there. That opens a whole door of being on common ground, trustworthy, and really wanting the most. And then it offers them the acceptance to tell, for you to tell them the gospel and to share with them. And it really, this sounds like a wonderful program, a wonderful, wonderful program.
Yeah. We're talking with Becky Crider, nurse, and Megan Doolin, a doula, with the program this morning. And again, it's a service of United Methodist Children's Home in Mount Vernon, Best Beginnings, Nurse Family Partnership, and Doula Services. And ladies, thanks for coming in and sharing the awesome program you offer to the young ladies out there. We appreciate you coming in this morning.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Hey, we're going to come back and continue more here on the Vine Morning Show. It's Mark and Jenny, and more to come as we encourage you to stay tuned. And right now, it is time for Uncommon Moments with Tony Dungy and his wife, Lauren Dungy, this morning. It's being underwritten by Fairfield National Bank.
So, why FNB?